Hello there, everyone. I am Beth, and this is Safe and Spiritual. A little bit about myself. I help people step into change and feel safe about doing it with tarot, oracle card readings, coaching sessions, light language. Been on this path pretty much all my life. Started on mythology when I was in third grade. Moved into anything occult and paranormal when I was in junior high. And this was back, before we had Amazon and the internet. So we didn't have a lot of resources back then. So it was a lot harder to find out about this stuff. One thing I did have the extreme luck in college, I call it my second, well, that was like my first, no, it was my second round. Let's call it the second round. There were several rounds of college. This was the second round, and I fell into a group called Pagan Student Spirit Alliance, which the whole basic idea of the group was to learn and grow with our spirituality. And the great thing about it, we always call it PSSA. So the great thing about it was if you didn't want anyone to know pagan, you could just say, oh, philosophical or whatever, Student Spirit Alliance. But I was fortunate enough that Raven and John did a really, really brilliant workshop for the Pagan Student Spirit Alliance at the university I attended. And basically, they covered a lot of territory about what a healthy relationship with a spiritual teacher, a spiritual group looks like. And that's something that's really important. We tend to want knowledge so much that we ignore our gut feelings, and that's not a good thing. And so I'm really thankful to Raven and John for putting on that was what was probably a 2 to 3 hour workshop. And we're really just gonna scratch this topic surface. It's in a nutshell. This is a very quick overview of red flag warnings to look for. And you will notice that a lot of them look a lot like what an abusive relationship would look like. Looks like it's just me at the moment, but if anyone pops in, we'll deal with questions at the end, or, if you're watching this at a later date, feel free to pop questions down below. So you find this group. It looks really wonderful. Everyone's so connected and loving. They don't need others in their life. The leader is charming, magnetic, has a connection to deity that you can't believe. They tell you of love and utopia, and that they're creating this utopia, and all people are equal, and you want it. And then you find yourself spying on others in the group and informing on them, forced to confess when you did something wrong, and or if you contradict the leader, your feelings and experiences are invalidated. You are told you did not see, feel, or hear what happened. Only the official version created by the leader is real. Blind obedience. You need to do what you are told and never, ever question any of it. You are lacking, never the organization or the leader. It isn't working. You do not believe enough. It is you that is at fault. Everyone else is the enemy. We are the only ones you can trust. All the above were tactics used to control people in Jonestown. 900 plus people. This always gets to me, including kids, died in a mass suicide murder. There was a U.S. senator down there too. God, they shot at him with machine guns. It was brutal. It was nasty. And these people all belong to a cult created by a guy named Jim Jones in the 1970s. And the above is still being used to manipulate people into believing. And part of the reasons why I chose the Jonestown incident is it's very well documented. And it's very much part of our cultural psyche at this point in time. Phrase, must have drank the Kool-Aid came out of this, because that's how they poisoned everyone, was with the Kool-Aid they drank. And this came out of the civil rights movement, of creating equality and things like that. So it's not just spirituality that sucks you in. That utopia can come from other places, such as at this point in time, Jim Jones founded this out of the civil rights movement of creating a spiritual place where everyone was equal, where everyone, no matter the color of your skin, was an equal player. And that was a huge thing back then. We're still dealing with that, come to think about it, with race and ethnicity and culture. What they wanted to, the truth of what happened, like with things like Jim Jones and Jonestown, the truth is it is abuse and brainwashing. It is meant to tear you down, make you afraid, make you vulnerable and submissive. So let's break this down a little bit more into keywords and phrases. So here's a few things. If you see any of these happening, run. I, the leader, have all the power and know it all. You don't know anything. It's a secret, and you have to do this and that to get in on it. I've got it. No one else can give it to you. I'm the only one. It's us against them. We are pure, good, saved, and all the rest are not. Why did you do that? What did you do? Why can't you just believe enough? Where else can you go? Those are all keywords and phrases that they use to have power over you. They need to control. They need and want to control you. Without your buy-in, the con doesn't work. They will take all of you and more. The point is to control you, your actions, your money, and everything in your life. That includes sex and whether you have it or not, and with whom. Yes, they do get this detailed. One of the things they will do first is tell you, you know nothing. It's like Jon Snow, you know nothing, but only Jon Snow didn't know nothing. You do. Trust your intuition. This is part of the control. You don't have the hotline to God because you don't know how. That's what they're trying to tell you. You don't understand how to talk to God. You are not capable of doing it. Your intuition is wrong. Listen only to me, your loving leader. Breaking down your belief in yourself is part of the process. They don't want you thinking or questioning the party line. When you do, they cut you off, demonize you, and tell you that you are evil, kick you out, and won't let you back in. And I've known people who have left cults. They do this. It's brutal. Families are torn apart over this, especially if you grow up in some form of religious group, that once you leave, you are the enemy. And that means that your husband, your parents, your children, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, all your friends in that faith, we'll just refer to as faith or religion for ease, aren't going to talk to you. You're gone. And it's brutal, and it hurts, and it harms people. It was harming them before, but oh man, seeing it happen, it's not pretty. And yes, they will ostracize you. So it's a secret. And you probably will never understand it fully because only I, your God leader, can get it. Don't tell anyone what we do here. Do you recognize this? Don't tell. It's a secret. It's a key. It's a secret is a key to abuse. Don't tell anyone if I hit you, rape you, emotionally abuse you, etc. Silence is not always golden. And the more we're willing to speak out about abuse, whether it's in a spiritual form or in just the normal everyday form, is a good thing. But in the context of spirituality, only God leader knows the secret, and no one else does. The secret teachings can't be found anywhere else, and you want this utopia they're preaching. You have to join to get it, and do what they tell you, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be good enough for it. And I want to insert here before we go a little bit farther, because there are traditions that are called initiatory. And that means you don't get all the knowledge dumped on you at once. Having done first degree in one of these, it's very different from not knowing it. They teach you, they lead you up, you have a certain skill set, they tell you this is what's going to happen. And for the most part, you have an understanding what a first degree is, what a second degree is, and what a third degree is for the initiations, whichever one you're going through at that point in time. You may not know all the lore, you may not know all the teachings, but you have an idea of what you're getting into. And you're not just being conveyed by one person usually either in these situations. The teaching process is usually a multiple of people, and it's pretty open and transparent even if you are not getting all the information at once, which would just be like overwhelming anyways. So there is a difference between an initiatory group and one that is not going to tell you any information until they're darn sure that you're part of them. Big difference. It is us against them. This is a key phrase. This is used to control you. So your family, your spouse, parents, friends that are not in the group are bad. They are against us. So you can't talk or see them anymore because they're bad. You don't want that bad, negative stuff coming in your life. You want to be part of that utopia. Why did you do that? Create guilt and place blame on the victim or you. It's never the leader's fault or the organization's fault. This is part of controlling your reality. The victim is at fault. What you saw or feel doesn't matter. It's only what the leader tells you. That is reality. They will isolate, demean, berate, and invalidate. This is how they control you. And like I said before, if this sounds like an abusive relationship, that's because it is. Here's the thing. In the beginning of working with one of these not so awesome spiritual leaders or things like that, it's going to look good. It's going to often will feel really wonderful. The love is going to flow. The community is welcome you, embracing you. You feel like you found utopia. It will look so good. It will feel so good. And it's probably going to be too good to be true, because it is. Trust your intuition and your gut with this stuff. A lot of what happens with this, and you see this in relationships too, where you ignore that intuition. You ignore the niggling of this is not okay. This should not be going on. And because you ignore that, it's you keep going on, and that's not really a good thing. If anyone tries to take your power away and make you feel like a pile of dog doo-doo because you trust yourself or you're using your brain and thinking, run. Just run the other direction, because it's not going to be a healthy relationship, no matter what it is. Gaslighting, and this is the definition from Wikipedia. It comes from a movie in the 1940s, and looks like it kind of started to work its way into the secular language slang somewhere in the 60s. It's actually a really good movie if you haven't seen it. gas, and it's named after that, gaslight. So you would dim or not dim the gaslight. It's been a really long time since I've seen the movie. So gaslighting, definition from Wikipedia. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation that seeks to sow seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or in members of a targeted group, making them question their own memory, perception, and sanity. Using persistent denial, misdirection, contradiction, and lying. It attempts to destabilize the victim and delegitimize the victim's belief. The whole goal of gaslighting is to make you doubt your own reality and not believe in what you've seen, heard, or felt. It creates an environment where you completely dismiss these things, and that's not cool. So anyone that seeks to do this to you is not someone you want in your life. If this is happening, seek out professional help, please. This webinar is to help you see it before it happens and is not a substitute for the police, medical, legal, mental health, or any other type of professional help. Yeah, don't think you should just keep quiet if things are going on like this. Start documenting, report it to the police. Just make sure you're safe. You know, things, just be safe, you know, and pay attention to how people treat each other. You know, everyone has a bad day, but if someone consistently treats someone poorly or tells people to do self-harming behaviors, things, cut people out, give them all their money, these are big cues that, you know, things are not on the up and up. So things you want to look for in a spiritual teacher, reader, group, anything spiritual, really anything in your life, things that show signs of being a healthy group. And this is where I pulled out the PSSA, the Pagan Student Spirit Alliance workshop, and we're talking, it's like photocopies. They did a good job. It's like this much information, if not more, on being safe and spiritual, basically. And so I pulled that out to really help me as a reference point, especially as I was going through what are the good things. And in general, this is the top ones I found. Questioning. Questions are good. They help you grow and help the person you're asking grow. Also, if the teacher, we're just going to call them teacher for ease, doesn't know, they're going to tell you they don't know. Or they'll say something like, hey, let me find out. Let me get back to you that, because I'm not really sure. You can ask them questions and they will ask you questions instead of telling you what you are feeling or should believe. They will not put themselves forth as infallible beings. Respect. You are treated with respect and your input is valued. The teacher seeks to help empower you and trust in yourself. Teachers will help build you up, facilitate you in creating a wonderful life. They're not going to ask you to fast for dangerously long periods of time or not sleep. They will not restrict food, water, affection, or praise to coerce you. And things such as long fasting, sleep deprivation, are all things they use in torture also. And the one thing, torture, while not effective means of getting information out of people, is a really effective way of breaking people down. And it's also very cost effective, which is why people do it. This is one of the weird subjects I explored working in refugee settlement. I got really interested in torture. It's weird to say, so I'm interested in torture. But you do see some of the same things being used that they would use, like sleep deprivation is probably like one of the easiest, number one ways that people torture other people when using forms of torture. So remember that if they're restricting food, sleep, you really want to watch out for that stuff. That's not good. You know, this is verbal emotion. Things like verbal, emotional, neglect, and physical abuse are wrong. So if you find yourself in this situation, document it. You really want to follow the same protocols you would follow if you were in a relationship that was abusive. Document, call the police, get the paper trail and the legal trail started. These things are very important in this kind of stuff if it's that severe. Don't just think, oh, it's just me. It's because that's the gaslighting. It's just me. That's what they want you to think, that you're just not good enough. You're not getting the teachings. See? A teacher's another thing too. Oh, and this is something this one just almost broke my heart. A teacher is not going to tell you to stay in an abusive relationship because this or that is not aligned. They will tell you to get out as soon as you can safely do so. Your safety matters, not some elusive, correctly aligned time. And yes, this type of advice does happen. I had someone who approached me with something similar to this. And you got a plan? Go for it. You can get out safely? Go for it. Do not wait. I would never tell someone in an abusive relationship that's our friend, like, can you get out safely? Okay, then do it. Safety is the key thing. And sometimes that's, like Jonestown, the U.S. Senator was down there trying to facilitate and communicate with them, and he almost lost his life running for the airplane as people were shooting, trying to not let anyone out of Jonestown. So whether you're in a group or not in a group, but using a spiritual person who is telling you you're just not ready to leave an abusive relationship, and you have a plan and you have a safe time to get out, you get out. That's really tears someone down too, because they're already in an abusive relationship and being torn down and going through many of the things we've already talked about. And they're looking for someone they can trust, someone who will give them an extra boost to trust themselves, to trust their intuition. And as someone who really works in a field where we are lay clergy, we need to be really, really understand the responsibilities of what we do and what we say really can impact people's lives. So, okay, the next one is walk the walk, talk the talk. A good spiritual leader or group is going to do this. They will do their best to show up and give you what you were promised or paid for. Teachers do their best to be kind, loving, caring, and supportive. Do we have bad days? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, we're going to be the first to admit it. To freak out and get angry, yep. We'll also be able to say we're sorry and apologize when we screw up. In a not so good spiritual community, that's not going to happen. Okay, good example here. I had, when my dad died, it was December, and that is get crystal season for me, end of year reading sale. I had a few people out at that point in time, and I'm like, oh, it was a big deal. Dad's dead. So, instead of just ignoring them or telling them or not telling them, sometimes that happens too, or making them feel crappy, I just told them what happened, and they got the choice of money back or wait until I could do it. Everyone waited, but A good, healthy person is going to be like, hey, this happened in my life. I'm not sure when I can do this. And it's going to be an occasional thing. And, it's not going to be an everyday thing where someone's like, oh yeah, we had this meeting, but I blew you off. Because you do also see that. That's also not a very healthy behavior. If someone's constantly blowing you off and then making you feel like crap. So I was trying to think of a way to I try to find ways that make things sound absurd. Because once we make them sound absurd, well, that and it really puts it into perspective. Absurdity is something I think is a little underrated. So let's talk donuts for a minute. So you go to the donut shop, and when you buy a donut, it's a certain amount of money, right? And you get a donut. If you buy 12, you get 12. Or okay, you might get 13 for the baker's dozen. But you're going to get your dozen, at least a dozen donuts, right? Right. So the donut clerk isn't going to tell you that you got 12 donuts when you got 2. The donut clerk won't tell you that you have to give them more money to eat the 12 donuts you just paid for. The donut clerk doesn't tell you that only the donut clerk can eat the donuts you paid for, and you must fast to understand the wisdom of the donut clerk. It is all your fault, and you are not wise enough to understand the donut clerk. That is some of the reasoning they use. It's that kind of stuff. So I gave you 12 donuts. No, I have to. No, that's 12. Oh God, what is that Star Trek episode? New Generation. My nose itches. Someone must be thinking about me. Which one is it? I cannot remember. I'm really rubbish with titles of TV shows, even the ones I love. But anyways, it's the New Generation. So I took the New Generation, and the Kardashians have come into the picture. So it's a bit later in the series. Yeah, and everyone who's like, who's the Kardashians? Kardashians kind of are like these really hyper-structured people and don't have fair trials. So if you're going to trial in Kardashian, you're already guilty and you're going to be, executed. But they get hold of Captain Picard and they torture him. And the 12 donuts, instead of, you only have 2, there were 3 lights. And the Kardashian kept trying to get him to say there was 4 lights. At the end of his torture, when he's being ready to be released, the Kardashian asks him once again, how many are there? And there's 3 lights, but Captain Picard is now seeing 4 because of the brainwashing, but he refuses to say that. That's what they're doing. This kind of stuff, I gave you 12 donuts. I only have 2. No, you have 12. This is called brainwashing. This is how people torture people. So if you have a group that is doing something similar, you have issues with that group or that leader or that spiritual teacher. Because when we tell you, go through it with the donuts, you gotta be 12 donuts. No, I only got 2. No, you got 12. You gotta give me more money to eat those donuts. You can't have those. You don't know it. You're not ready for those donuts yet. When you start using donuts, it gets pretty absurd and it sounds kind of like crazy talk. So one thing you can do if you're having problems working through something is replace the bigger issue with something like donuts, or flip it around, like for race relations, things like that, racism and stuff. If you flip it around, you usually will kind of be like, oh yeah, that's not cool. So try flipping it around or inserting something like donuts. So they just told me I have 12 donuts, but I have 2. Try inserting something absurd into whatever it is they're telling you and see what happens. See if it really is on the level or not, because when you use donuts for this kind of gaslighting, it sounds really absurd, but it's what they do. They undermine you make you doubt. So you do what they want, not what is good for you. Yeah, and it's one thing to make it living as a spiritual teacher, and it's another to con and scam your clients out of money. You hear about the get a tarot reading, and then they tell you have this curse. And basically, that's just a scam. Anyone says, "Oh no, you're going to just you have this curse. You give me $5,000 to take it off you. Just leave, run, leave." So, top 5 tips. Top 5 tips. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts, your gut, your intuition. If it feels off, it probably is. This also helps you weed out what's not for you among the good teachers. Because there are certain people who are really good who may not just jive with you. And there's a difference between like a good teacher and a bad teacher and someone who's just like, you're not my thing. And trusting your instincts is going to help you zoom in on the people that are for you, the people that are going to be best for you at that moment. Stalk them. I don't mean like in a creepy way. Like follow them on social media. Consume their free content. Is it speaking to you? Is it speaking to your heart in a loving and compassionate way? Yay, that, good chance this person's going to be for you. And you'll see they're supporting people, they're empowering, they're not shaming or harming people or asking them to berate and shame others and harm them. They will be supportive. They may have boundaries about how they deal with things as they're approached, but for the most part, they're going to be empowering. And follow people for a long time before you order something. I stalk tarot readers for like forever before I will order something from them. You get a good feel for them. You know what they're offering. And I find too, the peeps who put out good free stuff do even better paid work. So if someone's pumping out some really high quality content that you can consume just because it's out there, they're usually going to do a really good job. And they're paid. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Trust the old maxim. If it's too good to be true, it is. It's an oldie but a goodie. Utopias sound really good, but they don't hold up in the real world. We have yet to create one that works in reality. If someone, just trust yourself, really, and trust that too. If it's like those Ginsu knives, that are never going to dull. Really? I don't quite believe you, Ginsu. I don't know anyone has a Ginsu knife. Have you ever bought one? Do they never dull? I have a 15-acre lot next door for $2. Yeah, no, too good to be true in Montana, where land is not $2. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And that pretty much goes for anything, whether it's spiritual or just something you want to buy. I call this the tear down. Ask why you want it. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What sounds too good to be true? What's on point? Why do you want it? Why would it work for you? Will it empower you? Is it realistic in scope and practice? These are all questions I've asked myself, and the tear down works for a lot of things. Difficult emotions you don't want to deal with, weird collective stuff popping up, and it also works really well for spiritual leaders, buying things, you name it. Tear it down. Ask a lot of questions. Ask yourself a lot of questions, and then if it involves another person, ask them a lot of questions after you asked yourself all the questions. And if the person doesn't want to answer your questions about the product or service they're offering, that would be kind of a sign of like, well, why don't you want to answer questions about what you're doing unless someone's being a prat? But if you're asking, questions about how the service is done or the product or whatever, those are valid questions. Or if you're in a group and they don't want to answer questions, that's an issue. That starts to say some red flags could be popping up there. Especially, if it's a group or a spiritual teacher who just you ask an actual, on point question and they don't want to deal with it. It's like with readings for me, I provide extra support because a lot of my people are going through big changes. And it seems inconceivable to me that I can just drop a tarot reading or oracle card reading in their lap and then say, good luck, have fun. If they need more spiritual tools or have questions about that reading, sure, I'll answer them gladly and I'll help them, give them things they need to find the spiritual tools, as I like to call them, to get what they need to do to work through that change. Yeah, that's a whole different thing other than what I call fishing. And fishing's like when you ask, this is my questions from a reading, and then you come back and start asking questions not connected to the reading that you wanted. Or just keep trying to get more reading. That's not cool. Those kind of questions I won't answer for fear not, but yeah. But if you have questions or problems, a lot of people approach me with stuff too, so I just talk to them. If it's too big, then I tell them get a reading. But another thing, I know I'm starting to digress. Another thing that works really well, delay gratification. And this works for everything. Not sure about getting a reading from someone? Delay the gratification. Not sure about a spiritual class? Delay the gratification. Not sure about that spiritual group? Delay the gratification. And this works for a lot of things, including cake, cigarettes, and buying stuff. You delay it. Put it off until you're like, yeah. Because I know, I've been there. It's like you're so excited about something. You've had the sales pitch, you've gone to the webinar, retreat weekend, whatever it is, and you're gung-ho and you're ready to go. And you're like, please take my money, please, please. Give me it all now. So excited. I know you've been there because I have. I've been there. Totally been there. And I find when I take a step back from that high and get some perspective and delay the gratification, then I can figure out if I really want it. And it's surprisingly effective. And it helps keep you buying classes that you're not all that into, which is awesome, I think. Because if you can avoid skipping the stuff you don't need and going to the stuff you do need, that is highly effective. And delaying gratification can help with that. Because a day or two later, you may feel very different about it, or even just lukewarm. You check in and see if it's what you want and if you really want to exchange money energies with them. Also do the tear down too with delay gratification. Both of those combined are really, really wonderful tools to use when figuring out if something spiritual is right for you or just something in general is right for you. Tear down. I love the tear down. Tear down works really well with I feel weird. If you get one of those weird emotions, a couple weeks ago when we had there was that big magnetic storm, and a lot of the collective energy was of not feeling your own worth, of feeling very worthless at that point in time. Yeah, it wasn't fun. Tear down can really help with it. Why am I feeling this way? I don't know. It doesn't feel like me. Okay, so what is it? Oh, it's collective. Yay, not me. Doesn't mean that sometimes it doesn't mow you over, but yeah, collective energy. So tear down and delay gratification are two really good ways to kind of put off just falling into something because you're so excited about it. It looks so good. I just want it now, when it might not be. So, in summation, know the warning signs, the red flags. You know, it might look real nice at a surface level, but take time to get to know what it looks like underneath. If they won't let you in that far, wave goodbye and get the heck out of Dodge. As I mentioned earlier, I initiated into a group. I knew exactly what they were, who they were, what to expect. I also had long-standing friendships with them. Before I had been a student, I'd went through classes with them before I even thought about initiating. There was no force, there was no coercion. You know, I didn't know all the teachings either, but here's what they did do. They respected me. They listened to me. My opinion was valuable. They held my hand when I needed it and called me on my BS, then helped me work out the BS. That's healthy. That also applied to all the members, including those in charge. So any group where you cannot question the people in charge is not a particularly healthy one. And that's not a good thing. You need to have, as someone who does teaching, as someone who works as a spiritual leader at this point in time, you have to, you realize that your students often are the ones that are going to teach you a lot. And they're also going to be like, hey, that's not cool. They're going to call you out on things a lot of times. And that's okay. Because everyone has mistakes. Everyone has moments where they suck. Don't do it right. Do it wrong. Get it wrong. It's in how you respond to that getting it wrong, to making the mistake. And sometimes it's hard to say, yeah, I really screwed up here. And yeah, sorry. You know, it's like, I could easily have said, no one showed up today. That's fine. But I'm still going to record this and I'm still going to send you out the thing, because that's my part of the deal, is sending you out there, sending you out this replay. And besides the fact, you know, it's early here out west, 5-6. Yeah. And I'm still playing with times on these. I'm not sure what my ideal time is. So be really, really picky about who you work with, especially groups if you're going into a larger group. And when it's initiatory, be picky. If you can't get in and see them and get to know them and get to see the layers of the group, because this group I was in was initiatory, so there are, you know, first degree, second degree, and third degree. And first degree is learned. It's like, well, he also had like novice and was neophyte? I can't remember what they called the people who are getting ready to initiate. I'm having a brain cramp. So you had like just your students, and then you had your people who were a little more serious dedicates. Then you had the people who were a little more serious that were going through the initiatory process for the first time. Then you had other people who had been through the first degree who were going through second degrees, and someone else was going through third degree. And so you got to see these people's process of what they were going through as they were going through it. So you understood that, okay, right now that I'm a first degree and I'm learning this skill set, I'm learning this lore. And when I get to a second degree, this is going to be more what I'm dealing with as a second degree. And then also seeing someone who's going through a third degree, you're like, oh, okay, this is what happens with that. So even though you're not getting all the details, you are getting some knowledge of how it does work. You're seeing some bits and pieces of it. There is some form of transparency, even in a group that has distinct initiatory patterns. You will see parts of where other people's process are. You will be, as part of a group, especially a smaller group, you're going to be working with those people as they process those things. So that's important to remember. It can be like, yes, here's your first degree information, here's your second degree information, here's your third degree information. But the process in general should be fairly transparent, and you should be able to understand before you're there what's going to happen and what they're going to do. And they're not setting themselves up as infallible God beings that are the only ones who understand the world and the reality and can speak to God or deity or whatever you're calling it, source. So empower yourself so you can empower others. Walk your walk and go out there and be someone who can, help others work through this stuff if that's what you want to do. Or, if they come to you, you can be like, oh, I know those warning signs. That's not good. Very not good. I will very much tell them give them good validation. And sometimes validation is one of the greatest things you can give someone. It's like the person who came to me in an abusive relationship and was told that they weren't ready yet. They should just sit it out until such and such time. Get out. You're safe. You got a plan. You got a job. You get out. Do what is going to make you safe. Because it's not cool to do to someone. People can end up dead in those circumstances. People have ended up dead in abusive relationships because they weren't ready to leave or they couldn't leave. They couldn't get out safely. Yeah. They got out though. So I was very proud of them. Because, too, it's like a good leader is going to do like, they're going to cry with you and they're going to be excited with you. They're not going to encourage you to stay with your torturer. They're going to be like, support you. In a minor form of validation. One last story before I wrap it up. So this is something it's not abusive, it's just annoying. And it was bureaucracy, and bureaucracies are annoying. I went to the University of Utah. It's very bureaucratic. To the point of where you can start one place, trying to solve a problem, and end up back there after you went through like an hour of other people. Yes, it has happened to me and others. So one day I worked a work study program called America Reads, which works with literacy in schools that have high poverty levels. So they've switched over to a new accounting system, and they were late for like a month with our paychecks, for like several paychecks, 2 or 3 or more. They were late getting out. And mind you, this is Friday. Banks are closed Saturday and Sunday. So if you don't get your paycheck on Friday afternoon before 5 o'clock, pretty much, you got to wait till Monday. And we're all college students, so we all want our monies for the most part that day, and want to go grocery shopping. So I'm up there at the university, and the check's not there again on time, and it's like an hour after they're supposed to be there. And the Vista leader, I'm just like, rawr, I'm just roaring because I'm like, wait, nah. This is like, that's like, So it's been multiple times, and the Vista leader, Marla, looks at me and she's, you're right. You're perfectly right. They should have your check here now because 2 o'clock is when checks are supposed to be here. You're right. And I remember talking to her later because I later became the Vista for America Reads, and Marla was my Vista leader. And she's like, I remember that. It's like, I just had to validate you. That's how I felt. I'm just like, you needed to be validated because you were right. And sometimes it's that simple as validating someone's angst about their check not being there. Their idea of, I think this is what I need, but I don't know how to get there. How can you validate that idea and have it grow in them? And that's one of the things I look at when I work with people, of how do I validate them? How do I say, I hear you and this really sucks, or this is really awesome. Sometimes I love when I get to do positive validation. So look to validation too. If you have someone who approaches you who is approaching an abusive relationship, abusive spiritual relationship, look at how you can validate and support and help them trust themselves again. That's a really good gift to give someone too. And know the warning signs yourself so you don't get stuck in this shiz. No one wants to be in that quagmire. it's not a fun place to end up. And it's easily sucks someone in, no matter how smart you are. It is easy to not see those signs, to be like, oh, it just looks so wonderful, and I want that wonderful so badly that you ignore it. We've all been there at times where we've ignored that, and has it worked out well for you? It has not worked out well for me. I know that from experience. When I ignore those nigglings, my intuition, all the warning signs that are popping up, beating me on the head, I'm like, no, but it's so wonderful. I want it now. Alas, yes. And then you have to dig yourself out of the quagmire and put yourself back together in who you are now. So thank you so much for watching. And being part of this journey. Everyone go out there, be safe, and be the love in the world. Alrighty. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.